So, well, first of all, hi, and thank you so much for taking the time and sitting down with me to do this interview. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. Been a very busy day today. I have a normal day job, so I've raced home in the car to get here to do all my interviews and try and put some makeup on and not look like you know death. um, so it's been quite a hectic day, but it's nice to finally be home and talking to people. So yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I also have a day job. All the struggles, yeah, come with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, you're releasing your debut album very soon, like this week, I guess.
Yeah.
Are you excited about the release, or how are you feeling about it?
I'm really excited. Yeah. So we have been sitting on this album for just over 2 years now. So we were meant to bring it out quite a while ago, but because of the pandemic, it got delayed. And so we're just finally so ready for it to come out. Bit nervous as well, because obviously having a debut on a label like Napalm brings quite a lot of pressure. You've got to be good. So a little bit nervous, but mostly just excited.
Yeah, what is the story there? Because I guess not a lot of bands release their debut album on Napalm Records, so there must be a good story there.
Yeah, it's quite a quick story. We'd released 2 songs without management, without a label, which were Elite and Dominate, and we had all the albums bar 1 song recorded, so we knew that we had an album we were proud of. So we were like, right, okay, we're going to try and find a team to release this with. So we found Tone Management, who we love, and they're like family now. And then they sent the album out to everybody that they could possibly get to listen. And for ages, nobody was interested, and we didn't get anything back. So we were like, oh, okay, we're probably going to have to release this independently. And then we were recording the last song for the album because we knew we wanted just to add 1 more. And our manager texted us just the word napalm, and we were like, napalm? Do you mean napalm death? Do you mean napalm? Right, what does this mean? And he didn't reply for 2 or 3 hours. And so we were just like, Tom, what are you doing to us? You're torturing us. And then he got back to us and was like, yeah, they want to work with you. They really like Culling Culture. So we ran around screaming and we're really excited. And it was just as simple as that. The album got put in the right hands at the right time. And they wanted to work with us. And it was just, the easiest story to tell.
Yeah, now, I'm pretty sure that there are still some people who haven't heard your songs yet. So could you briefly maybe talk a little bit about your band's history? Like, when did you guys start and how did you guys meet each other?
So we all knew each other from old bands that we were in. Al had been who's our bassist, was in bands down in Oxford, which is quite a long way away from where the rest of us live. But we all got on really well whenever our bands would meet up and play shows. And then there's a festival in the UK called UK Tech Metal Fest. And once a year, we all meet up there as a group of friends and drink too much and have fun. And when we decided to form VEXED on New Year's Day 2019, we didn't have a bassist, but we'd already booked a European tour, which was really well organised. Well done. Book a tour without a bassist. And so we were like, we need to find a bassist. What do we do? And then the first person who came to our minds was Al. And we asked him to come along. And he wasn't a member at this point. He just came along for the shows. And by the end of it, we'd had such a laugh and such a good time. He decided to join. So yeah, it was a combination of all of us. We knew each other previously, but we were in bands for years that we didn't really amount to anything. And then we were like, right, we're going to give it one more go, or we're going to quit. And it luckily all fell into place with VEXED, which is good.
How would you describe your sound to people who haven't heard your songs yet?
It's really difficult to describe, because if you're somebody that likes to know by genres, I don't know what it is. I was just talking to somebody before about this, and he was saying he can't put it into a genre. So I suppose we take a lot of inspiration from all different kinds of metal. So progressive metal, death metal, metalcore, deathcore. But then we also are really big fans of rap and grime. So we take quite a lot of influence from that. So it's kind of just a mismatch of a lot of different aggressive genres packed into one, I think.
Now, how did you guys write this album? Because you also mentioned like you first didn't have a bass player. Did you have the bass lines already also in the songs, or?
No, so we all met up like a couple of times a week, and we knew that we wanted to write an album. So we'd had a couple of songs done, and then we were like, right, we need to write quite a few more. So we'd meet up once a week, write. And then we went to the studio, recorded all of them without a bassist. And our producer, Merrick, who obviously produced and did the songs, he wrote all the bass for the album. And he did all of that, and he helped us write the songs. He's an amazing musician and songwriter as well. And so he did all the bass, and then after we finished it, Al kind of jumped in and was like, okay, he had to learn the whole album, bless him. And then he helped us write the last song on the album, writing wise, which was Fake. And now when we have played them live, he kind of does his own interpretation of the songs instead of playing what's really on the album, which is really nice, because it's nice that he can bring his own kind of take to it. And we've already started writing the second album. So he's bringing his own writing, which he's very good at, to the band, and performs it in the way that he would have recorded it if he could have. So yeah, bass was done by our producer Merrick.
Now, the press release mentioned that this album was kind of inspired by cancel culture. I want to talk a little bit more about the lyrics later on, because I heard that it's not really about that per se.
No.
But I was wondering what your thoughts are about cancel culture, especially because I guess it's kind of a relevant thing this year, because so many artists already got canceled, I guess, like Marilyn Manson, John Schaefer, and people like that, for instance. What do you think about that?
For those instances, I think it is absolutely amazing, because finally these bastards are being held accountable. And like the days of rock and roll stars and, that whole being untouchable is over. And I am so pleased that it's over, because all these women and some men, boys, girls, they are all finally being listened to and taken seriously. And I think the day of the rock star is dead, and rightly so. And not in the way that, like Gene Simmons says, where he's like, oh, there's no cool rock, rock. I mean, in the sense that these people have acted however they wanted to for decades and have destroyed so many people's lives and have been completely untouchable. They haven't had to suffer the consequences for it. And cancel culture now has called them all up for their time. And it's the most amazing thing to see all these people finally get some vindication and closure, and make these bastards, accountable for what they did. On the flip side, though, there are some areas and topics that cancel culture, I think, is awful for. For example, there's a lot of people who are denying that certain events in history happened, or are just using it as an excuse to be racist, homophobic, sexist. And for those reasons, I think it's awful, because it gives people a reason to hide behind just their awful opinions, when in fact, it's not true. They're just horrible people. But for victims of abuse, it's the best thing, and I fully am behind it. I love it.
Yeah, I guess that, or at least the way I interpreted the lyrics as well, it's I guess it's very personal to you, but for me it felt kind of that it was about these horrible people in the world, and especially the song Narcissist is a good example of that, I guess. But would you say in a way this album is a concept album to you, or what are the lyrics about in general?
So the lyrics, each song is written about an individual person. So there's 8 people who each song is dedicated to. And all these people have done horrible, horrific things to either me or my family or my friends. And I now have nothing to do with them and have culled them from my life, so to speak. And yeah, so each song is about each of those individuals, and it explains kind of in some sort of way the experience I went through and now how I have absolutely nothing to do with them.
What I also thought was a nice sentence in your bio is something along the lines of that anger can destroy you, but it can also make you stronger or give you real strength or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I was wondering, after having written this album, do you feel like you became a stronger person because of writing all those lit songs?
Yes, 100%. It's really weird because when you're writing them, I was so full of anger and pain because it was like having to relive what these people had done to me. But the second they were recorded, it was almost like closure. And so now when they're being released, it's even more like satisfying because it's finally like I've had the closure, but now I'm kind of exposing those people, even though nobody knows who they are. Some of them will hear them and know that it's about them, and that brings me a lot of happiness.
In general, there is also a lot of anger, I guess, in society present. Is that also a source of inspiration for you? Because I heard in a different interview that anger really inspires you as a vocalist.
Yeah, it does. And like you said before, I use my anger and my pain to, like, I push it into a positive place, because you can either let it really mess you up in your head, which I did for a long time. For years, I would, hate myself for the things that other people had done to me. I would always blame myself for it. Whereas now I have the mentality of, okay, I'm in pain and I'm angry and I'm upset. Use it to fuel positive things, success, vexed, lyrics, whatever it is. And so, yeah, it's one of those things where whenever I'm feeling angry or upset, I can either go and do something stupid or go and do some writing. So I go do writing now. But yeah, sorry, I'm losing track. I forgot the question.
It's not so important. I forget them all the time. Yeah, anyway, structure-wise, I thought was also interesting about the album is that it goes from a very, very dark place to a bit towards the end. It gets a bit more hopeful, the sound. I was wondering if that's deliberate, and does it symbolize anything to you?
So when we were deciding what order to put the songs in, we wanted the start of the album to almost resemble the end, so it feels like you could listen to it on repeat and it would just kind of flow constantly. So we didn't want to kind of put all the angry songs at the end or at the beginning, and kind of we wanted to make sure that it flowed really nicely and kind of told a story. So yeah, when we were kind of deciding where to put them, we definitely bared in mind that it needed to have some sort of not hopeful flow, but almost kind of like resolution. And I think ending on Lazarus, like Aurora and Lazarus, kind of helped sum up the feeling and the end of the album quite well.
So I also noticed what I usually do is I go to videos and read the comment sections as well to prepare for these interviews. And what I noticed is that quite a lot of people, they also compare you to Tatiana of Ginger. And on one of the comments, you reacted that it would be great if people would stop comparing female vocalists and kind of respect them for their own style and influences. And I was wondering if that's something that happens to you a lot. Like, do people compare you a lot to Tatiana, or for instance, Alyssa of Arch Enemy or something like that? And how do you feel about that?
For ages, it used to really piss me off because I don't like being compared to anyone, even if it's in a positive way, because I know some people think that it's a compliment, but it really isn't. You know, it's like anything. If somebody like as a woman, if you're compared to another woman, it never feels nice in any respect. And I don't mean that in a horrible way towards women. I just mean there's nothing worse than somebody being like, oh, well, you're kind of like her, but not as good. It's just like, well, I have my own thing going on, and you know, I respect her, but I also respect me, and you know, we're two different individuals. You know, you don't get a comment section in bands where there's male vocalists and they're like, oh, well, he's just trying to sound like Corey Taylor. Like, you don't get it. So it's purely coming from a sexist place, which is why I get really annoyed about it. Now I'm used to it, and it's just water off a duck's back. I don't even rise to it anymore. But for a long time it did get to me, because I felt like I was always going to just be second best or not good enough, or just compared to other people who are so far ahead of me on a journey I've only just started, that there's no way I can compete with women like Tatiana or Alyssa, because they're so much more experienced than me, and they're incredible front women, and I don't want to be in competition with them either. You know, we all have our own place. So yeah, comments like that used to really, really get to me. But now I'm just like, well, you're just an idiot. Like literally, that's the only way I take it now, is just, you're just a sexist idiot, basically.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that as well is because in another interview I watched, you mentioned that Epiphany was kind of based on that, and that you also used to get a lot of mean comments about your appearance, your singing, and everything that comes with it, I guess.
Yeah.
But what was for you the moment that you stopped caring? And do you have any advice for artists who probably go through the same things as you were?
Yeah. So it was when we released Elite. I got so much hate. I was told I was fat, ugly, untalented, like the most awful things. And I even had people threatening me they'd beat me up if I came to their town to do a show. Like, it was awful, and I really didn't cope with it. Like you said, I completely broke down. I wanted to quit music completely, because it felt like the one place where I felt safe was now not safe anymore. And no matter what I did, I just was constantly surrounded by people who hated me, and I couldn't deal with it. And then the boys, they are the ones, the boys in the band, who made me realise that other people's opinions really don't matter, because it doesn't matter who you are. You could be the most beautiful, most successful, most talented person on this planet. Somebody is still always going to hate you. And their opinion is just a fart in the wind. It doesn't mean anything. It's not actually fact. And so the boys made me realise that if I've had that much of an impact on somebody to the point where they've had to write a comment because they can't stand me, that's a power that I've had on them, and that is their own problem. And if anything, find it quite liberating that I am able, from probably the opposite side of the world, somebody I've never met, so I've made them that upset. It's quite funny. So yeah, any advice to younger people is that it is going to hurt for a while, because it's never nice being told awful things like that. But you have to remember that opinions are just things. They are not facts. And yeah, even we don't like everybody. So yeah, just find it funny, and save them in your group chat, and then go stalk whoever they are that's done it and take the piss out of them.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, the biggest surprise to me on the record was the song Purity, because it seems kind of inspired by this retro game music or something like that. How did you guys come up with the song?
So Jay, our guitarist, came up with that tapping thing, quite early on, and we were all like, how are we going to put this in a song? So we managed to, or he managed to write the rhythm that goes behind it, because he was so proud of that tappy pattern, and it's really difficult to play. I don't know how he does it. Even though not all of us were fully behind it, it was so important to him that we were like, okay, we're going to put this on the album. So we managed to kind of figure out a way of heavying it up a bit, and then I had to obviously write lyrics and melodies to it. And out of all the songs on the album, Purity was the hardest one to write vocals to, and is now the hardest one to sing. So I really shot myself in the foot there. It's probably the most difficult song I've ever had to do, so hopefully I won't get asked to do it live.
Yeah, were there any other challenges connected to the record that you went through as a vocalist, or as a person even?
Every song was hard. I wanted to, with this album, write songs and lyrics or vocal patterns that I physically couldn't do. I wanted to be able to get into the vocal booth in the studio and not be able to do it, and have to really fight and push myself to almost breaking point, and then be able to do it, because I needed that challenge. And now, like, I was driving home from work the other day and I did the whole album in the car, and I can do it, which is insane. But back then when I was recording it, it was so difficult. But I kind of needed that process to kind of find my voice again and find who I am as a vocalist again, after years of being in bands that I hated. So yeah, every single song was a challenge. But now, even though they're hard, they're nowhere near as difficult as they used to be. So that's good.
How do you look back to the end result? Like you mentioned, you've been in bands that you hated. Do you feel like this is the band for you that's going to be for the future,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I have absolute freedom and liberation when I'm in VEXED and when we're writing songs for VEXED, that I never had in old bands. I was very controlled by old bands and old band members. I felt like I had to be the perfect female-fronted vocalist, and do the things that female-fronted vocalists are supposed to do and wear the things they're supposed to wear. Whereas with VEXED, it's just, I'm completely unapologetically myself, and it's really liberating. So yeah, VEXED is definitely my baby, and hopefully what I'll be doing for as long as I can.
What songs are you looking forward to play live the most, whenever that's possible again?
Yeah. Let me think. I'm really looking forward to Hideous live, because that went down really well. So that'll be exciting. But also Fake, and Narcissist. I'll throw a third one in. Yeah, I really like performing the really heavy, angry ones. They're just really good fun. So yeah, Fake is actually coming out the day after the album comes out, so that'll be really cool for people to kind of experience. But yeah.
Now you guys are from UK, and of course Brexit came into effect in January 2021. Has it affected you as a band, or do you think it will have a big effect on you?
Yeah, it has, and it's really, really sad. We're not a political band, we don't talk about that sort of stuff, but when Brexit happened, we all just suddenly became so political in our group chat, because our government has completely screwed over musicians, and it's so unfair, and I don't know how we're going to overcome it. So if we want to tour in Europe or anywhere else, we have to, now get visas or permits for every single country, and it's going to be really hard, but we're still going to do it regardless. It won't stop us. It's just going to be even more paperwork. But I feel really sorry for bands and sympathise with bands who do not have a team behind them that are going to help them do that, because we're so blessed that we've got amazing managers and amazing record label like Napalm who are going to figure out how to do that. So bands that are independent, you know, I take my hat off to them. It's going to be really, really tough trying to figure out how to get around that. But hopefully at some point Brexit will get sorted for musicians and we'll be able to just tour freely again. But it's going to be an uphill struggle for quite some time, I think.
Now, speaking of touring, even though it's not really a possibility right now, but I guess post-corona, do you guys have anything planned, or are you looking into things, or what does the future hold for you in the next coming years?
So we literally want to go anywhere that we can. We've had a lot of people and agents asking us to come to America, Russia, Europe, all over, and we will not say no to anything. Like, if we're given the opportunity, we'll take it. We've been stuck in our bedrooms for too long now, so I will go anywhere. As for actual planning, we've got a few things that we are going to announce hopefully next week, which is exciting. They're not 100% confirmed yet, so hopefully next week they will be. But yeah, it's just a case of as soon as Corona pisses off, basically, we can confirm literally absolutely everything, which would be great.
Okay, well, that's it for my questions. Do you have any last thoughts you want to share with people who will be watching this?
Just, if you check out this music and you like it, thank you so much. If you leave nice comments, thank you so much, because it's so easy to be an arsehole on the internet nowadays. So to make a choice to actually write something nice is amazing, and we read everything, so we really appreciate it.